there was a road race that was supposed to be done at 9:30, but was not done until like 2 minutes ago. So we are here live now at the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery. I am with Preston, Midshipman Preston, who's hopefully going to help us look at some Medal of Honor recipients and our camera crew. He's doing this for a cup of coffee. All right, you stay behind. Do you have your phone on you?
Yeah.
So it has the GPS of all the place. So cool. Join us as we walk through the cemetery, and we're going to talk a little about the Medal of Honor recipients. If you have any comments or questions, Mr. John will read it to us out loud. So let's head down. Where's the first? Somewhere in this one I can see.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, the best way to walk in the cemeteries is come back to the back of the headstone and stay at the back of the headstone and go in between. That way you don't accidentally step on somebody, because it's the most respectful way to walk through the cemetery. So as you see us walk through, we are trying to be as respectful to people as we can. Up along that road up the left.
Back then it used to be, I think the requirement was 03, like the early 1900s. Now it's flag rank. Or pass away as a midshipman or somebody who is assigned to the Naval Academy, because we'll have different officer, senior enlisted billets here as well. So
now, one exception to that is if you get the Medal of Honor, you can pick where you want to be buried. But like right here, we have a 4-star admiral.
So I'm assuming that Captain Teal here, the reason that he's allowed to be buried here as an 06 is that he was probably stationed here at, as his last duty station, or still working here in some capacity when he passed away. That's just an assumption though, so not working.
Actually, this will take us right by Senator John McCain's grave, who's resting here as well. So hey, if you're just joining us live, we are at the Naval Academy Cemetery for Medal of Honor respects. There are 12 individuals resting here who have received the Medal of Honor, including a 5-star Fleet Admiral, which I believe there's only 3 of those gentlemen in history.
Just 5-star.
There's only like 8 or 9 5-star ranks ever.
So we are at the Annapolis Cemetery.
There's John McCain.
Yeah. We're going to make a quick detour away from the Medal of Honors. We're going to go see John McCain.
And I do also love this grave, Midshipman Ward. It's just it's a great design. I wish I could tell you more about them, but yeah, I really love the anchor chain, and I think it's a really iconic grave.
Well, here we go. On this side, it says killed in the discharge of their duty on board the USS Battleship Missouri during the practice off Pensacola Bay, Florida. So that sounds like it was an artillery accident. We're going to walk around the headstones, walk down here. Right here we have Senator John McCain. Now, if you don't know about Senator John McCain, he was an Arizona State Senator, which is where Midshipman Preston is from. But more importantly, he was a presidential candidate. And even before that, he was a naval aviator who was a POW for many, many years in there. Yes, we have a question in the back.
I think
Those are footstones. You're okay to stand there. So, Senator John McKay, is there anything you can add? Your
Yeah.
home state.
So he was in I think he was second to last or third to last of his class from the Naval Academy. Ended up doing pretty well for himself. Was in an accident on the aircraft carrier Forrestal at one point, and you can read a lot about that, where I believe it was his plane crash landed or caught on fire, and there was a ship-wide fire, and he actually acted very heroically in that instance and was able to save a few lives. Shot down in the Hanoi Hilton, later a senator, longtime senator from Arizona, presidential candidate. And yeah, I mean, he was very proud of his Naval Academy heritage, choosing to be buried here of all places.
And his wife is, you see her name is there, she is not passed yet. So as the president indicated, due to his naval service, he developed some health conditions that kind of started to plague him later in life more and more. All right, let's keep moving. Fathers and mothers.
You told me about that one.
Of all the Supreme Court Chief Justices and all the 5 and 6 star ones. And then all the presidents.
So we are doing a tour of the cemetery.
Oh, what are they asking?
They're asking, what are we doing here? What's happening?
This is a Medal of Honor Day tour. Now, Medal of Honor Day is actually March 25th, but we're here early so that Midshipman Preston can help us get around the Naval Academy Cemetery as we visit some distinguished people, but particularly the Medal of Honor recipients resting here. There are 12 in total. Hopefully you stay for the whole thing. Thank you for tuning in.
It's in here.
Who are we looking for?
I'm not sure. It just says
How about
the coordinates. That might be it. Okay. Look through.
So we're at the grave of Isaac Kidd.
So Isaac Campbell Kidd Sr., he was a rear admiral in the United States Navy during World War II, primarily served in the Pacific Theater. Born Isaac Campbell Kidd Sr., March 26, 1884 in Cleveland, Ohio, and entered into the Naval Academy in 1902, finishing in 1906, 4-year program. Kidd's first true seas experience was part of the Great White Fleet under Teddy Roosevelt, which was an around-the-world cruise from 1907 to 1909 to demonstrate the prowess of the U.S. Navy to the world. He later served in World War I on the USS New Mexico, and later in the Panama Canal Zone as captain of the port at Cristobal. After graduating from the Naval War College, which is like a post-graduation program you do later in your career as a senior officer, he went on to serve as the commander of the USS Arizona until his promotion to Rear Admiral, but he remained aboard the Arizona as his flagship until at the time of his death. And here's his citation. For conspicuous devotion to duty, extraordinary courage, and complete disregard of his own life during the attack on the fleet in Pearl Harbor by Japanese forces on 7th of December 1941, Rear Admiral Kidd immediately went to the bridge and, as commander of Battleship Division 1, courageously discharged his duties as senior officer present afloat until the USS Arizona, his flagship, blew up from magazine explosions and a direct bomb hit on the bridge, which resulted in the loss of his life.
And if you'd like to see a picture of Admiral Kidd, we have it right here.
So actually, sorry, if you go to the Naval Academy Museum, they have some of Admiral Kidd's artifacts on display, and I believe they have his ring that he was wearing when he was killed.
All right. So from here, we're going to go on to the next recipient. You have the map because my phone is currently in use.
No worries, no worries.
And if you have a question, our cameraman who's doing this for a cup of coffee and a firm handshake will happily let us know what your question or comment is so that we can answer it to the best of our abilities. Yes, Junior Wanderer in the back. All right, come back to you later. So if you just tuned in, we are at the Naval Academy Cemetery early for a Medal of Honor Day celebration. I'm here with Midshipman Preston, and we are visiting the Medal of Honor recipients resting at the cemetery here. Actual National Medal of Honor Day is March 25th, but we're here early because he doesn't have school, I don't have work. Works out.
Okay, so we're gonna go down and see the columbarium now, just because we're at the closest point to that. And the road on the other side of that is probably closed, so we'll have to come back up the way that we came.
Oh, it's just something to walk around.
I don't think there's an actual path. Hill.
Let's see. I think
Okay with scaling this? Is that it?
let's
We're gonna get down on that little path. That's the only way to get into the column.
Okay, bear with us. We're gonna have to kind of shimmy down a hill.
We can kind of go over there to get on the path if you want, but I just, I want to make you prepared for this steep descent. So at the academy, they're actually doing wide-scale construction to try and raise the seawall, because every time we have a high tide, Annapolis floods really badly.
No.
And so we've had to raise the seawall at every point to try and ward that off. And that includes what used to be like a really beautiful waterfront area. Now they have to bump it up a few feet.
Now I want to point something out. This is a major general of the Air Force from Vietnam who graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy. So it isn't just Navy personnel here. There are a couple other services, but it's mostly Navy and Marines. Which way?
Yeah. Further down.
Oh, we have to go down.
Yeah, we're just trying to get on that little sidewalk.
Yep. We're gonna have to kind of cross it out.
Yep. So ordinarily, this is a lot easier to access, but they've got some construction going on. So, like, the backside is going to be completely closed off.
Okay, we have to kind of find them, so bear with us. Are there any questions or comments in there? You find one?
Okay, I'm looking.
They should be right here. The Medal of Honor symbol. It'll be on it.
Okay, so there's this neat little chapel here as well.
Let's see. Can you bring up Find a Grave on your phone?
Never heard of it. Let's see. Yep. I think it's already in the.
Sorry for the delay here. walk too far there, Junior Wanderer. So, in case you're wondering how we found this information, it's the same way I'm having to look it up really quick right now, and it's called findagrave.com. Did you find one? Those are Air Force, those are finding ones. So I don't know if they're supposed to be marked.
So one of the buried here is Richard McCool, Captain Richard McCool. So we're looking for, I think it's him and Admiral Flucky. Flucky is going to be in the top left of one of these sections, and then McCool is in the same section. So once we can find
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up right now. Okay. Let's see here. There it is, show map. Over the Google Maps. Sorry, John.
No rush.
This is why I labeled all of them. Okay, McCool's buried right over there. So I think McCool's up over here.
And Flucky's in the same section then.
Okay. This is the issue with Find Grave, is that they only put you within about 10 meters of where it is.
Oh, here's Flucky right
Alright,
here.
where'd you see him?
All right.
There's
Okay.
And then McCool is in here somewhere. There he is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, alright.
Awesome.
Sorry, very sorry about that, but we have here Rear Admiral Flucky, and down over here we have Captain McCool. I actually have both those individuals' biographies to talk to you about real quick. As soon as my paper wants to find me. There we go.
One of the interesting parts of the columbarium is you'll see a lot of these gentlemen and ladies now too have their class crest or class year in their grave.
Captain Richard Miles McCool. He was born on January 4th, 1922 in Toshomingo, Oklahoma, where he graduated from high school at 15 because his parents put a high level of importance on education. He got into his education program early. Then he graduated the degree from political science at the University of Oklahoma before entering a brand new program called the Reserve Officers Training Corps, which I am a fine product of, if I don't say so myself. And he began, while training graduate studies, and very quickly found himself here at the Naval Academy, where he would volunteer to command a landing craft support ship. And he transferred to, and he finished his graduate studies after transferring to here at the Naval Academy, as I said. And after training and being promoted, he was then put in command of a landing craft support ship. McCool found himself in the thick of the fighting at the Pacific, and before long, he was at the site of the bloodiest, costliest, and longest battle of the entire war, the Battle for Okinawa. In case you don't know, that lasted for 82 days straight, from April 1st all the way home. McCool would distinguish himself on Okinawa being awarded the Medal of Honor. McCool would serve in several locations across the United States after the war, but retired from service in 1974 after 30 years of service at the rank of captain. McCool passed away in 2008. His citation: for conspicuous gallantry and integrity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty as a commanding officer of the USS LCS L3-122 during operations against the enemy Japanese forces at the Ryukyu Chain, 10 and 11 June 1945. Sharply vigilant during hostile air raids against Allied ships, those would be the kamikazes, on radar picket duty off Okinawa 10 June. Lieutenant McCool aided materially in evacuating all survivors from a sinking destroyer, which has sustained mortal damage under the devastating attacks. When his own craft was attacked simultaneously by two of the enemy's Suicide Squadron kamikazes early on the evening of 11 June, he instantly hurled the full power of his gun batteries against the plunging aircraft, shooting down the first and damaging the second before it crashed into his station in the conning tower, and engulfed the immediate area in a mass of flames. Although suffering from shrapnel wounds and painful burns, he rallied his concussion-shocked crew and initiated vigorous firefighting measures, and then proceeded to rescue several trapped in a blazing compartment, subsequently carrying one man to safety despite excruciating pain and additional severe burns. Unmindful of his own personal danger, he continued his efforts without respite until aid arrived from other ships and was evacuated. By his staunch leadership, capable direction, and indomitable determination through the crisis, Lieutenant McCool saved the lives of many who otherwise might have perished and contributed materially to the saving of his ship and further combat service. His valiant spirit of self-sacrifice in the face of extreme peril sustains and enhances the highest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service. So, Captain McCool. I think I also have Fluckity's. But if you'd like to see a picture of Captain McCool, as you can see, this gentleman lives up to the name McCool, because you can't look that good in Navy uniform and have any kind of other name than McCool.
They need to bring back the full khakis.
They do.
That's
They
awesome.
do. They brought back the pinks and the greens to the Army. They need to bring back that for the Navy. All right.
In between, we had another ask, where are we again?
We are at the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery. The actual academy proper is directly behind the camera, about 400 yards that way,
Yeah.
as the crow flies. But we are here at the cemetery of the academy where 12 Medal of Honor recipients are buried and resting. We are paying honor to them as part of National Medal of Honor Day, which is on March 25th. So, you know, I have work and Midshipman Preston has school. This day made the most sense.
Response is very McCool.
Oh, indeed. Now we have Fluckity. I really hope I'm saying that right, and YouTube does not ping me for this. Please, Fluckity. Help me out here.
I think it's Flucky. Yeah.
Flucky. We'll
Yeah.
call it Flucky. So, Rear Admiral Flucky was born October 5th, 1913 in Washington, D.C. You'll see a common thread. A lot of these guys were born in D.C., oddly enough. He attended Western High School and Mercersburg Academy to better prepare for the Naval Academy. Go figure. A lot of them went to the Naval Academy. A lot of Navy guys go there. Did you know that, midshipman?
And I did, and it's interesting. A lot of these gentlemen went through prep schools before getting into the actual academy, which is still common today. People will apply their first go-ahead, won't get in, or will get accepted to the Naval Academy preparatory school, and they'll decide to go to like a private prep school instead before attending the academy the next year.
And that's not just true of the Naval Academy. The Air Force and the Army, they all do it too. They have a lot of people go to prep schools. So, Fluckity entered the Naval Academy in 1931, graduated in 1935. His first assignment was aboard the USS Nevada, after which he spent the next few years moving around the Navy until 1938 when he reported to submarine school. Interesting about him, he is the only Submariner Medal of Honor recipient at this cemetery. So, and that's at New London, Connecticut. In 1941, he was aboard the USS Bonita, where he would serve 5 war patrols before returning to the Academy for a graduate degree, after which he returned to duty as the commanding officer of the USS Barb in 1944. For his heroism during the USS Barb's 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th war patrols, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, the Navy Cross with gold stars. I'm going to come back to that one. And this was in lieu of 3 additional Navy crosses. So this dude not only earned the Medal of Honor, but a total of 4 Navy crosses. That alone is kind of incredible. Getting 2 Navy crosses is incredible. Getting 1 is kind of incredible. If I'm not mistaken, it's the second highest award the Navy can get. Is that correct?
That's true.
So this dude has the equivalency of 4 Navy crosses, which is almost as good as the Army cross. I'm biased.
Is it called the Army Cross?
No,
It's a distinguished. Okay.
Distinguished. Flucky went on to a long, successful naval career after the war, but regarded his time in the USS Barb as a high point of his career. Flucky retired from the service in 1972 after 41 years at the rank of Rear Admiral, where he and his wife started running an orphanage in Portugal, of all places, and Flucky passed on June 28, 2007. For his citation reads, for conspicuous gallantry and integrity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty as commanding officer of the USS Barb during her 11th war patrol along the east coast of China from 19 December 44 to February 15, 1945, after sinking a large enemy ammunition ship, damaging a total additional tonnage during a running 2-hour night battle on 8 January, then Commander Flucky, in an exceptional feat of brilliant deduction and bold tracking on 25 January, located a concentration of more than 30 enemy ships in the lower reaches of the Nan Kun Cheng, now today the Man Quan Harbor, fully aware that a safe retirement would necessitate an hour's run at full speed through uncharted and mined and rock-obstructed waters. He bravely ordered battle stations, torpedoes. In a daring penetration of the heavy enemy screen and fighting in 5 fathoms of water, he launched the Barb's last 4 torpedoes at a 3,000-yard range, which, if not mistaken, is not really recommended because of the sheer length. Quickly bringing the ship's stern tubes to bear, he turned loose 4 more torpedoes into the enemy, obtaining 8 direct hits on 6 of the main targets to exploit a large ammunition ship and cause inestimable damage by the resulting flying shells and other pyrotechnics. Clearing the churches area at high speed, he brought the Barb through safely, and 4 days later sank a large Japanese freighter to complete a record heroic combat achievement, reflecting the highest credit upon Commander Fluckey, his gallant officers and men, and the U.S. Naval Service. And something to note as we look at Admiral Fluckey's picture, he said in his correspondence he would be nothing without the crew that he had on the USS Barb. And he said that's why it was one of the highest points of his career. All right.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to head back up into the cemetery.
So now we have to climb back the hill.
We can walk around a little bit to that.
Yeah.
No worries.
So, hey, Midshipman Preston, please let us know, and let the however many people on YouTube. Hello, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Is this open to the public normally?
The cemetery?
Yes.
Well, yeah, you can come on the yard as a visitor anytime, like normal business hours, and come out here and see it. It's a little difficult to get to because it's on the other side of the academy, but you're always welcome to come and see the cemetery as a visitor on the yard.
However, like going to any base, naval, marine, or army, or otherwise, it is highly, highly important you check in at the security desk before you go into the visitor center. And I strongly recommend reviewing all precautions online before you actually go to the base, because
Sometimes our
You
force
never know.
protection measures will be higher.
Yeah.
Of course, it always depends. So they suspended tours for about like 2 weeks a few months ago for some sort of security threat, but all good to go right now. If you were to want to come and see all of this, you're welcome to it. You just have to go through the visitor center and get checked in.
I'm just gonna go straight to the hill.
We have Crazy Cemetery Lady said, please let him know I said thank you for doing this.
Oh, yes. In case you don't follow her, Crazy Cemetery Lady is someone who lives in upstate New York, I believe in the Syracuse region or close to it, and she cleans cemetery headstones. So if you ever want to clean up your relation's headstone from a bygone era, find Crazy Cemetery Lady. She can tell you how to do it so it doesn't damage the stone.
Straight up right here.
Former Army, man. Why make things easy when they can be hard, right?
I like walking.
Alright, so we're back in the main part of the cemetery now, and you'll see a plethora of headstones. There's a big memorial coming up here too. Who's the next one we're looking for here? Or at least the next direction. Okay, I think I know who that is. That's Thomas Jones. So what do we have here on the left?
So this is a memorial to one of the ships that went looking for the Erebus and the Terror.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that in the car on our way here.
So you can read, this was part of an Arctic expedition to locate the 2 British ships that had been lost decades earlier. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this crew was lost as well. But it's a really great memorial, and especially in the snow, this looks awesome. Because you'll see like actual ice pile up on it too if it gets cold enough.
Oh, that's cool.
I have some great photos I can show you guys later.
That's cool. And please, if you have any questions at all, put them in the comments. My cameraman, who's doing this for a handshake and a cup of coffee, I'm saying this so if you want to employ him, that's all you need to pay him. He'll happily let us know.
Those terms of employment are pretty good.
What's up?
There's something that says Knox over there.
Yeah, Knox is a quite common name. All right.
I think they might be right around here.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Well, here's this gentleman's got maybe cross right here.
Cool.
How about right here? Upshur.
Nice.
This gentleman is our lone Marine who's resting here with the Medal of Honor. This one is one of yours, Mr. Preston.
I'm looking. Okay, William Peterkin Upshur. That's quite the middle name, Peterkin. Okay. So, United States Marine Corps captain in the Haitian campaign, 1915. Our sole Marine among these 12 men, William P. Upshur, was born on October 28, 1881 in Richmond, Virginia. Upshur attended the Virginia Military Institute, graduated in 1904. By 1906, Upshur found himself at Camp Evans, Deer Point, in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And from there, he also served in Panama, the Philippines, and China. Finally, in 1915, he was assigned to the 15th Company of the 2nd Regiment at Port-au-Prince, Haiti, where he engaged Haitian rebels known as the Caicos. It was also here that Upshur served alongside Smedley Butler, a 2-time Medal of Honor recipient. After Haiti, Upshur served in both World War I and World War II. Sadly, during an inspection tour of the command of the Department of the Pacific, his plane crashed near Sitka, Alaska, and he died from his injuries. He served 39 years in the Marine Corps and achieved the rank of Major General. Now I'll read a citation. In company with members of the 15th Company of Marines, all mounted, Captain Upshur left Fort Liberty, Haiti, for a 6-day reconnaissance. After dark on the evening of October 24, 1915, while crossing the river in a deep ravine, the detachment was suddenly fired upon from 3 sides by about 400 Caicos, Haitian rebels, concealed in bushes about 100 yards from the fort. The Marine detachment fought its way forward to a good position, which it maintained during the night, although subjected to a continuous fire from the Caicos. At daybreak, Captain Upshur, in command of one of the 3 squads which advanced in 3 different directions, led his men forward, surprising and scattering the Caicos and aiding in the capture of Fort Liberty, or Deepati. And here is a photo of Captain Upshur.
What was
There you go.
what was the comment they said?
So middle names like that are usually a last name in their female line, like
Yes.
mother's maiden last name.
That is correct. It is from his maternal line.
I didn't know that.
I can't remember who exactly because I could go for pages on each one of these recipients. I had to condense them down to about a page. So while we're reading these biographies to give you an idea of who they are and their citations, just remember this is incredibly condensed information. All these guys I could go on for pages and pages and pages about. And some of them actually have books written about them. So, but onwards and upwards.
Awesome. Okay, let's find the next one.
They all should be relatively
Yeah,
condensed around this area.
Line of guys.
Okay, where are we right now?
Right here. Yep.
So right over here, there should be 2. Let's do there.
Sounds good. Real quick, I'm curious if that's Pete Ellis, who wrote a lot of strategy. Nope, I was wrong.
guy's story is really, really interesting, which I think it's in your part of the packet. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to find Mr. Montague's story. I can't wait to get to Mr. Stockdale.
Oh, it's gonna be.
I got him. If you want to find the picture.
Sure.
So we are here at the grave of Daniel Montague. He earned his Medal of Honor during the Spanish-American War. He was born October 22nd, 1867 in Wicklow, Ireland. He is our lone immigrant recipient of this group today. He got his first experience actually not with the U.S. Navy, but with the Royal Navy. However, the U.S. Navy at that time in the 1890s was growing so fast and so rapidly, they offered massive incentive programs that people would quite literally jump ship from the Royal Navy into the U.S. Navy, and, well, hey, money talks. And that's what Montague did. At some point in the mid-1890s, he jumped to join the U.S. Navy. Montague went on to serve the U.S. Navy during the Spanish-American War and was part of the 8-man volunteer crew who boarded and sunk the USS Merrimack under the orders of Admiral William Sampson to block the entrance of Santiago Harbor, Cuba. The odds of success and survival of this mission were so low that Admiral Sampson considered it an absolute suicide mission, hence why he had to ask for volunteers. Needless to say, it did not go to plan. While they sunk the Merrimack, it did not negatively affect navigation. The 8-man crew was taken prisoner. Montague would remain a prisoner until the Battle of Santiago de Cuba, where the Spanish fleet was actually destroyed about a month later. For their actions, all 8 men were awarded the Medal of Honor, and Montague himself would continue to serve in the Navy, even serving at the Naval Academy, until, while on active duty, Montague passed away February 4th, 1912, due to illnesses he contracted during the Spanish-American War, and he quite never really recovered from. What they think killed him was a bad blood transfusion, because those were still relatively new at the time, but he had health problems that plagued him since the Spanish-American War due to his POW time. Montague was buried according to his last wishes. This is the really cool one. At the Naval Hospital, in his room, he could see a tree, and he asked for his last wishes to be buried under that tree.
And that's the old Naval Hospital.
So that's the tree that Montague would see from his room, which if the camera will go behind, keep going to the left, keep going to the left, keep going, keep going, keep going.
There we go.
This is the old Naval Hospital.
Now it's the Naval Institute, and on the backside is still abandoned parts of the hospital. It was a massive complex. And then here's a photo of Mr. Montague.
While you look at his photo, I'm going to read a citation. In connection with the sinking of the USS Merrimack at the entrance to the harbor of Santiago de Cuba, 3 June 1898, despite heavy fire from Spanish batteries, Montague displayed extraordinary heroism throughout this operation. That is the story of Daniel Montague, the Irishman, Royal Navy, turned U.S. Navy. All right, the next one should be...
So there's actually one right there.
While we're looking, it looks like we have a comment. It says it looks like all the Medal of Honor recipients have their memorials in Find a Grave if you have issues finding them in the cemetery.
Yes, they are in Find a Grave. The reason why we're having issues finding them a little bit is I didn't have a chance to do a pre-reconnaissance and come out here and pinpoint where all of them were. So I have to go off Find a Grave's rough estimates. But you are absolutely correct, whoever said that.
Crazy cemetery lady for the win again.
Thomas Calvin Cooney.
I've got that one.
You got that one? I got the picture.
Get close up here first.
No, this one's me.
Oh, okay.
I just did that one because you were...
Go for it.
All right. We have here Thomas Calvin Cooney. Now, what's really interesting about this is this shouldn't be like this. And you know why? Because the standard for these graves, the ones like this, are arched. The reason why you'll find Confederate graves that are pointed like this, and I know this because the guy who wrote the paper on it, I served with. When they were cleaning up the Civil War battlefields, the Confederates noticed that the Union workers would always sit on top of the Confederate headstones for their breaks. So in order to let the Confederates stick it to them one more time, they came in at night and shaved the edges off of their Confederate brothers' headstones to create a point, so the Union couldn't sit on it and the Confederate could get one more point on the Union. Now, he was not a Confederate. It's interesting that his grave is shaped this way. Cooney was born 18 July 1853 at Westport, Nova Scotia, Canada. So I was wrong. He is also a foreign born, so my apologies. Little is known about Cooney's formative years or when he found his way into the U.S. What we do know is that by approximately 1890, he is likely in the U.S. and aboard a ship serving in the Navy during the Spanish-American War while aboard the USS Winslow, a torpedo boat. Cooney distinguished himself saving the lives of fellow sailors due to his fast actions. Cooney passed away on January 8, 1907 in Norfolk, Virginia. We also don't know how long he served in the U.S. Navy, but it was at least, probably for the time, I would say a safe estimate is 8 to 10 years, maybe 12. Citation reads, on board the USS torpedo boat Winslow during the actions at Cardenas, Cuba, 11 May 1890, following the piercing of a boiler by an enemy shell, Cooney, by his gallantry and promptness in extinguishing the resulting flames, saved the boiler tubes from burning out and likely saved the ship from exploding. And we do have a picture of Thomas Calvin Cooney. So,
Great photo.
oh yeah, some of these, not everyone has a photo. Junior Wanderer in the back, what do you got? What do you see? Oh, this is actually really important. While we look at where the next one's gonna be, at any national cemetery, and even some that aren't, you'll see headstones like this, where they don't know the name, but it is an unknown grave, and they at least wanted to give the person the privilege of having a proper headstone and buried. So rather than just put them in a mass grave, they would put them with these, unknown. So it's a great way that the United States shows respect to its veterans. Yes, Junior Wanderer in the back.
Why does it say infant?
Say again?
Why does it say infant?
Because this individual was obviously an infant when they passed. But since they didn't know, but they had a connection to the cemetery, that is why.
Why does it say it infant? Why does it say it twice?
There's probably two. But this is something the United States, to this day, will still do when they don't know the remains of the unknown. Now, granted, these are infants, not soldiers, but the soldiers' headstones will look a lot like this as well.
We're still missing one in this general
Vicinity?
cluster area.
So we're supposed to have labeled them so that we can find them a little quickly. Now I know when we get to Thomas Jones, his is a flat on the ground. So let's see. See, I wanted to do a reconnaissance out here, but wasn't able to. I was gonna exactly say, hey, go do this because you have studies.
Fair.
So let's see.
We have a field named after Mr. Warden here.
Really?
Yep.
All right. These are baby graves. So let's avoid those.
Let's work our way back up there, and then
I'm gonna work my way this way and up.
I think I know where Stockdale is. If we
Okay.
want to default to that.
Let's default to Stockdale. I'll poke around here a little bit, but Midshipman
All right.
Preston is gonna take you to Stockdale.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, I found him.
Oh, all right.
Bruce Candle. Sorry, Candless. Actually, he's in really good company. Because Rear Admiral King. That's the one we forgot. In case you're wondering, YouTube, this is one of 3 or 4 5-star admirals in the United States Navy, and one of only like 10 or 12 individuals in U.S. history to hold a 5 or 6-star rank. So this is kind of pretty special because there's 2 buried at Arlington and one resting here?
As a midshipman, every day I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner in King Hall. So our messing is named after Fleet Admiral King.
Okay, I have the candles. Okay. Now, what's really, really fascinating about this is that Bruce McCandless Sr. is a Medal of Honor recipient, but Bruce McCandless Jr., astronaut. So talk about some high aspirations for the great-grandchildren. So here we are with Bruce McCandless, Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy. He was served at the Pacific Theater of World War II, like many of the individuals that we saw today. He was born on August 12, 1911 in Washington, D.C. and was a graduate of, can you guess where? Anybody? Where do you think he graduated from, Junior Wanderer in the back?
Here.
The Naval Academy, that's
Good
correct.
answer. Good answer.
That is correct. Odd how most of these guys went to the Navy. McCandless was a true military brat. What that means, for those who don't know, is that, like my children, you have lived in many different places. For example, I have kids born in Washington, Texas, and New York, and they've lived in 2 countries and 5 states. Those are what you call military brats. You move around with the military. Moving several times with his family. After graduating from the Naval Academy, McCandless served aboard the USS Louisville, USS Indianapolis, and the USS Case before returning to the Academy for postgraduate work. After graduating again in 1939, McCandless was stationed aboard the USS San Francisco, where he would serve for much of World War II. McCandless saw combat in several battles of World War II, including the attack on Pearl Harbor, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. So some of the biggest battles of World War II this gentleman was privy to. However, it would be the naval battle of Guadalcanal that McCandless' actions would see him awarded the Medal of Honor. McCandless would serve until 1952 in retirement service after 24 years as a Rear Admiral, passing away on January 24, 1968 in Washington, D.C. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and exceptional distinguished service above and beyond the call of duty as a communications officer aboard the USS San Francisco in combat with the enemy Japanese forces off the Battle of Savo Island, 12 to 13 November 1942. In the midst of a violent night engagement, the fire of the determined and desperate enemy seriously wounded Lieutenant Commander McCandless, rendering him unconscious. Killed or wounded the Admiral in command, his staff, and the captain of the ship, the navigator, and all other personnel navigating and signal bridges, on the navigation and signal bridges. Faced with the lack of superior command upon his recovery, displaying superb initiative, he promptly assumed command of the ship. I want to explain here. He was the senior ranking officer because everyone else had died or was unconscious at this point. And ordered her course and gunfire against an overwhelmingly powerful force. With his superiors and other vessels unaware of the loss of their admiral and challenged by his great responsibility, Lieutenant Commander McCandless boldly continued to engage the enemy and lead the column of the following vessels to great victory. Largely through his brilliant seamanship and great courage, the USS San Francisco was brought back to port and saved to fight again in the service of her country. And here we have a picture of Bruce McCandless. Again, these are the uniforms you guys need to go back to. They just look great.
Yeah, they do. Is he in the grays there, or is he in the khakis?
Looks like whites.
He's in the whites.
Oh, we still have the chokers.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So we are coming up on the last few. Are there any questions or comments we need to address?
Nope.
So,
Awesome. Okay, we'll head back up the road and look on the right side this time.
and if you're tired of hearing my voice, don't worry. It's Midshipman Preston's turn, I think, for the next one.
So when I came to the academy as a midshipman, our superintendent was Vice Admiral Buck, and I think that's his family plot. Just something you might be interested in. We're gonna go up the road and look on the right.
This one or this one? And I want to apologize again for starting so late. We got here in enough time, but there was a road race that was supposed to have been done a while ago, but wasn't done. People need to run faster sometimes. Here's another interesting one right here. You'll notice he's got the NASA symbol. So we have our second astronaut of this cemetery.
So the Naval Academy actually produced the most astronauts of any undergraduate university, school, such and such.
I am sad to admit that, yes. There's only been a couple Army astronauts, but the Naval Academy and Air Force pretty much dominate that field.
We've had lots of space cadets though.
Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum. You know what's funny? It was only recently did the Space Force send its first astronauts into space.
Really?
Yeah. We had to rescue the Space One.
Yeah.
That was the first Guardian to go into space.
My only question is,
They do mostly do satellites.
Yeah.
my only question is, did they come from the Marine Corps before the Space Force?
I don't know.
True Space Marine.
Okay, dude, that's yeah.
Space shuttle gunner.
Well, the guy who's on the Space Force, he's literally he's going to be Captain Kirk one day.
That's great.
I do want to point out, I love these engravings and different designs engraved on different graves. Like this is presumably this captain's command at one point is his ship on there, DDG 701.
These are the ones I really like because any idea why I like this grave? Anybody? 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 Yes, Junior Wanderer in the back.
It's an army one.
It's an Army grave. Even better, it's artillery. I can't hear, but I still appreciate that. If you're wondering why I'm excited about that, I was artillery. Yes, Junior Wanderer in the back. The Shaparo? Yes, we can stop. We can swing by Shaparo.
Oh, we're gonna go this way first.
There have been a handful of Star David symbols, and clearly this was a Jewish officer, a 2-star, so a Rear Admiral, who is resting here. What's a tradition among the Jewish faith, and I apologize if I get this even remotely wrong, is that rocks are placed on here as a symbol of honor for people of the Jewish faith who have served in some sort of capacity outside of just being an ordinary human. They went above and beyond of being a generally good person.
His wife is buried here too.
Yes, quite recently.
I can't even see where.
I know. I know there's one over this way, so I'm gonna look. In there that we need to address?
Nope.
Hopefully everybody's enjoying this. If you are, please like, follow, subscribe. I do a lot of this stuff. I drag my kids everywhere. They absolutely love it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, we do have a question from Crazy Cemetery Lady. Did you talk about the significance of leaving coins? She missed the start of that one.
Absolutely. I actually ran out of pennies, but here's how this works. Please let me answer. You can answer if I get anything wrong, okay, Junior Wanderer?
I can answer the penny one.
Okay. When you visit a veteran's grave, as a veteran or not, you can leave a penny. Always leave them face up, unless there's only one grave that a penny's left face down. Any ideas whose grave it is? Whose grave would have a Abraham Lincoln penny face down to look at them?
Booths.
John Wilkes Booth. But the tradition of the coins is a bit interesting, and no one's entirely sure how it got started. There's a couple, I'll get into it. A penny means you respect their service. A nickel means you served in the same unit as them. A dime means that you served with them. And a quarter means that you were with them when they passed, or in the unit when they passed. Now, the tradition of leaving coins is a bit sketchy. No one's 100% sure where it comes from. The two theories are, because in Greek mythology you paid the riverman, and his name's eluding me, 2 coins to cross the river into the afterlife, you're paying homage to them. The other tradition goes back to Roman dates, where they would use challenge coins to indicate their units and would often relieve their challenge coins of their fallen comrades on their grave. So those are the 2 traditions I've heard. You heard anything different about the coin tradition?
No.
So
I was able to find Lieutenant Commander Wainwright is down there.
that's one of yours.
Yep.
So let's head down. So hopefully that answers the question of the coins. While you do that, I'm gonna look for another one, which I think is in the area.
She said, "Good job, Junior Wanderer."
Okay. Wait, where?
Right there.
Oh.
Really?
Yes. They have the same great grandfather. I'm gonna look for Jones. He's a flat one, so he's a little harder to find. Wainwright's in the back. He's towards the back.
Awesome. Okay. Lieutenant Commander Richard Wainwright, Jr. He was a lieutenant, United States Navy, in the Mexican campaign when he earned his Medal of Honor. So buried here in the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery. He was born on September 15th, 1881 in Washington, D.C., and hails from a lineage of patriots of both the United States and Texas. Wainwright attended the Naval Academy. He graduated in 1902 and began his service on the USS Indiana and USS Chauncey. Wainwright also served aboard the USS Connecticut as part of the Great White Fleet's Around the World Tour from 1907 to 1909. While serving aboard the USS Florida, Wainwright led a landing party from the Florida during the Battle of Veracruz, Mexico, where he would distinguish himself. After his combat experience, he was assigned to the Naval Academy, where he served until his retirement in 1921. He was briefly recalled to active duty in 1942 before retiring for good after 20 years of service at the rank of commander. Wainwright passed on March 28, 1944 at the age of 62. Also, in case you were wondering, he is related to General Jonathan Wainwright. They are distant cousins having the same great-grandfather. So imagine being nearly 61 when you're recalled to active duty. That's pretty metal. Yeah, so here's a photo of him, and then we'll do his citation. Actually, I don't have a citation. That's okay. I can put it on. Oh, I do have it. Okay. I don't have a photo of him. I could probably pull up a photo on the internet. I'm sure there's gotta be somewhere.
You don't have a photo of him?
No.
Let's use one of mine.
Sure.
I got it. You read that.
Awesome. Okay, so here's the citation. For distinguished conduct in battle, engagements at Veracruz on the 21st and 22nd of April, 1914. Lieutenant Wainwright was eminent and conspicuous in command of his battalion. He was in the fighting of both days and exhibited courage and skill in leading his men through action. In seizing the customs house, he encountered for many hours the heaviest and most pernicious concealed fire of the entire day, but his courage and coolness under trying conditions were marked. And that is it.
Yeah. Sorry, Wainwright's photo actually did not come out very well. That might be why you don't have it. Okay.
It's okay, I'll pull it up on.
Let's see. I had it in here. Nope.
So here he is as a midshipman. Let's see if I can find.
Yeah, no, I found pictures of him, but I clearly did not. Ah, that's McNair. That's what I was thinking of. That's McNair.
Interesting. Okay. It pops up. Yeah.
Oh no, wait. I put it in the wrong spot. That's what's wrong.
That's okay.
And here's Wainwright a little bit later in life.
That's a great photo, by the way.
Yeah, and that is a that's a what he's doing with that cup is not endorsed by me or the U.S. Navy.
Navy gets style points.
Exactly.
I wonder what the significance of the cup is.
And honestly, it's probably due to a rock.
Oh, yeah. So every time people pass Christensen's grave, they do push-ups of their class year because he would do that. He was class of 99, and so he would do 99 push-ups all the time. He was killed when, if you've seen the movie Lone Survivor, there was that helicopter that was loaded up and trying to come in and rescue the 4 guys that got hit by an RPG, and he was the commanding officer aboard that helicopter. I think Lieutenant Commander Christensen, Eric Christensen.
That's kind of a cool tradition.
Navy SEAL.
Yeah. Just got a lot easier recently, though, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, when they flipped the class here to 2000, it was 0 push-ups, right? But,
This is one that you gotta love. Rear Admiral, number 1 of the graduates of 1864.
not very humble.
No, but you know why he was easy to get number 1 in 1864?
Probably like 30.
Yeah. A lot of them left because 1864, 1865, tons of people fled all the service academies to go join the Confederacy. So the numbers went from whatever they were, cut to a third, a half, or whatever. So he probably went from like number 15 to number 1. Who knows? I'd have to look into that, but I like that. Humble brag. Humble brag.
Yeah.
Took pride in their service.
Well, it's awesome to see like when guys will include their warfare device, like their wings or their submarine pin on their grave.
Yeah, must do.
DDG 89.
He was a vice admiral.
Probably DD 89.
So where are we going next?
Well,
Take a look at his grave here.
yeah, I think Stockdale is up over. Yeah. Jones is going to be.
There you go.
There's Vice Admiral Stockdale.
Oh. Now, if you're just tuning in, if you've heard no other stories, you want to hear this story. So I'll let Midshipman Preston take it away. I'm going to look for Jones.
So, James Bond Stockdale, middle name Bond. I'm just going to do this off the cuff and then I'll read what we actually have written up on him. Just because we talk about Stockdale a lot, we look up to him as far as leadership goes. He was a big proponent of Stoicism, which is a philosophy of essentially remaining unbothered in the face of adversity. So we take leadership classes every year at the Naval Academy, and one of those classes essentially focuses purely on philosophy and Stoicism. And he was the main proponent behind that. Stockdale eventually was the president of the Naval War College, really reformed a lot of education for naval officers. Probably the coolest story about, in my personal opinion, about Vice Admiral Stockdale is when he was the commander of the U.S. contingent of POWs at the Hanoi Hilton during the Vietnam War. That was in Hanoi. It was when aviators, and it was mostly aviators. There were a few POWs from other branches and services. When they would get shot down or captured, they would end up in this. Well, it was essentially hell. They'd be tortured every day, trying to. The North Vietnamese were trying to make them divulge information about specifics on the ships they were on, the aircraft they were flying, technical details about targets they were trying to bomb, things like that. Stockdale, as the highest-ranking prisoner of war at that camp, he took command of the other prisoners and tried to establish a moral code that they would live by. So, for instance, they weren't allowed to communicate, and so he helped devise with another group. I think Commander Alvarez was the other guy that helped make this code of like tapping. They would tap through the walls to talk to each other because they weren't allowed to speak, but they felt it was their duty to remain able to communicate even if they weren't allowed to vocally talk, because like verbally speaking they would be punished severely with torture. The coolest story, as I was going to say earlier, the North Vietnamese wanted to use, at the time I think it was Commander Stockdale, as propaganda. Like they wanted to do propaganda videos of him and broadcast them around the world, saying, "Hey, we're treating our POWs right. We're in the right here. We should. The Americans should withdraw from Vietnam, so on and so forth." And Stockdale would not let that happen. He didn't want to be willingly or unwillingly used for propaganda purposes as the highest-ranking member. So he actually bashed his own skull in. I believe it was on a chair, and bled profusely, but severely disfiguring himself. And he threatened to disfigure himself more so if the North Vietnamese propaganda. So yeah, he nearly killed himself to stop the enemy from using him for propaganda value, and was able to withhold a very high moral code amongst the POWs in the Hanoi Hilton. He also recognized that under severe torture, men were going to divulge secrets, but he established that you would hold out for as long as possible and then let something very small pass and make the enemy think that's all you know, and then they would be satisfied and stop asking for more after a certain point if you held out after that little bit of information. So really an amazing figure, and now I'm going to read what we actually have written up about him. We do have a statue of him in front of our leadership building as well, of him exiting his aircraft, and yeah, so here, let's do the official. Okay. James Bond Stockdale. Okay, so he was born December 23rd, 1923 in Abingdon, Illinois, and is probably one of the physically and mentally toughest men that rests here at the Naval Academy Cemetery. He attended the Naval Academy and graduated in the class of 1946. Stockdale was accepted for flight training in 1949 and reported to Naval Air Station Pensacola that same year. He was in pilot training until 1954 when he was moved into Naval Test Pilot School, finishing his time as a test pilot in 1957. Stockdale found himself serving in Vietnam in 1964 until his capture in 1965. He spent 7.5 years as a POW in the Hanoi Hilton. At Vietnam, and this was called the Ho Lo Prison. That was its official name, and the U.S. POWs called it the Hanoi Hilton. That was its funny POW name. Stockdale, like many prisoners, was tortured near daily, denied any kind of medical care. Despite his severely damaged leg he suffered when captured. I will not get into details. It was brutal, but
which you already did.
well, I talked a little bit about the skull thing. Yeah. His leg was broken twice due to torture. Stockdale was once asked how he coped during his time, and he answered, "Oh, that's easy. The optimists, they were the ones who said we're going to be out by Christmas, and Christmas would come and Christmas would go. Then they'd say we're going to be home by Easter, and Easter would come and Easter would go. And then Thanksgiving, and then it would be Christmas again, and they would die of a broken heart. This is a very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be." Later in life, Stockdale did just about everything from president of the Naval War College to being Ross Perot's vice presidential candidate running mate. Stockdale passed on July 5th, 2005 after 30 years of service at the rank of Vice Admiral. And now I'm going to read a citation, which is quite the write-up.
Yeah.
Okay. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while senior naval officer in the prisoner of war camps of North Vietnam. Recognized by his captors as the leader in the prisoner of war's resistance to interrogation and in the refusal to participate in propaganda exploitation, Rear Admiral Stockdale was singled out for interrogation and attendant torture after he was detected in a covert communications attempt. Sensing the start of another purge and aware that his earlier efforts at self-disfiguration to dissuade his captors from exploiting him for propaganda purposes had resulted in cruel and agonizing punishment, Rear Admiral Stockdale resolved to make himself a symbol of resistance regardless of personal sacrifice. He deliberately inflicted a near-mortal wound to his person in order to convince his captors of his willingness to give up his life rather than capitulate. He was subsequently discovered and revived by the North Vietnamese, who, convinced of his indomitable spirit, abated their employment of excessive harassment and torture toward all the prisoners of war. By his heroic actions, at great peril to himself, he earned the everlasting gratitude of his fellow prisoners and of his country. Rear Admiral Stockdale's valiant leadership and extraordinary courage in a hostile environment sustained and enhanced the finest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service. And if you're interested in reading more, there's a great book about the Alcatraz 11, which is what the ringleaders in this resistance movement at the Hanoi Hilton called themselves. It was a group of 11 senior officers at the Hanoi Hilton that banded together to try and establish this communications code and resist the North Vietnamese for nearly a decade. They were punished severely as individuals on top of the punishment and torture that they all received, all POWs at the camp. So if you're interested in reading more, I would look up the Alcatraz 11. And let's show a picture.
Yeah. After you show the picture, I got a couple interesting graves that I didn't think we'd get to.
Awesome. Oh, sorry. Get that.
There we go.
So Stockdale additionally wrote a lot of academic scholarship and strategy for the Navy after his time as a POW. A lot of it speaking on character, philosophy, moral virtues, things that he spent a lot of time doing self-study on. He did sabbatical at, what's the West Coast school in California, the Ivy League? Stanford. Did like a 2-year sabbatical at Stanford before Vietnam, and he essentially self-taught himself philosophy there. He was majoring in international relations, didn't take any no required classes in philosophy, but went out of his way to take classes in that didn't help him for a degree or anything like that. Did a lot of self-study at the library, taught himself Stoicism, and then during his time as a POW, he would basically plan out how he wanted to write about it after release, because he thought that it taught him very important lessons that he could apply to the naval service as a whole. That is the Naval Institute. It used to be the old Naval Hospital, and Stockdale published a lot of different articles in Proceedings, which is their quarterly magazine. Actually now it's monthly. It used to be quarterly. It's a monthly magazine that naval officers and professionals release, doing mostly scholarship related to the naval profession. And he published extensively in Proceedings, so it's fitting that he's buried alongside a real passion of his.
I want to point out a couple things. One, there's another West Point graduate over there, so another Army grade. But this is the one I want to point out, along with another one. We're still looking for Jones and Summers. Jones and Summers.
Okay.
But this is Clarence Case Thomas. He's the first American naval officer to die in World War I. So this is a really kind of special grave. I'm going to read it in case you can't say it, but it says the first American naval officer to give his life in the war with Germany. The SS Vacuum, which was torpedoed and sunk by a German submarine, he died from exposure and was buried at sea off the coast of Scotland, April 12, 1917. So he's one of the first naval casualty. Now, here's the fun part. Do you remember I talked a little bit about the Confederate graves and how one of the Medal of Honor recipients has kind of an interesting grave? I didn't think we'd get to this person's grave, but I'm going to detour really quick, Preston.
Yeah.
Because there's a Confederate buried right over there.
We have a few. So let's do it. So actually, I used to go to classes in Maury Hall, which is named after a former superintendent of the Naval Academy who defected to the Confederacy. They renamed it to Carter Hall. There was a board established by Congress that renamed a lot of different naval and Army installations. We'll have to see if it gets renamed back to Maury under current situations. Maybe not him, but somebody else named with his name. Alrighty.
So this is a Confederate naval officer who's resting here. I only did brief research about him because I didn't think we'd have a chance to get to his grave, but I want to point out how they did this angle appropriately to give the Union one last jab.
So what's the story on that? I've never heard that.
I told you the story.
So the angle.
Okay,
yeah.
so really quick, for those who didn't see it, this is a true Confederate grave. Now, even though they rebelled against the United States government, wanted to give all Confederates a proper burial. Now, initially you see it has that gentle arc. It goes right here like this usually. Well, as they were cleaning battlefields like Gettysburg, Antietam, Manassas, all the people who were former Confederates noticed that the Union workers would only take their breaks while sitting on the headstones of the Confederates. So in order to make them stop that and to give the Confederates one last jab at the Union, they came in at night and shaved off until they got to a point. And that became the standard for Confederates. Now I know this because when I went to a school at Fort Leavenworth, the guy there used to be at the Old Guard, and one of the things he had to do is research a new historical topic, and so he researched why the Confederate graves have the angle, and the reason was they cut it off so they could jab the Union one more time.
It's a great story. So I think that Jones is going to be buried over in that far area, because I'm looking at this photo and you can see the Naval Institute and Hospital.
So I think he's further down that way. What about Summers?
Okay, let's find.
I thought Jones was up here. I must have been thinking of the other gentleman.
Oh, no worries. Do you remember Summers' first name?
Richard. Not mistaken. Sorry, Robert.
So one time I came to the cemetery and I actually met the McCain family while I was.
Oh, that's cool.
It was Jack McCain, who was also in the Navy. later on, one of his sons.
True,
And
but
we
you
know
think it's
just
over
seeing
there.
his dad again, which is pretty cool to
I'm in this.
I know. All right, so we're gonna start walking this way to look for. There are so many
So
cool.
Robert
places.
Summers was born in Germany. I didn't realize
Oh,
that.
geez, did I miss that? I screw up and said the
No,
first
it's-
3 immigrants.
It's okay. I had no idea either. That's pretty interesting.
The amount of stuff that's here, like right there is a Joint Chiefs member, right? Crown, a 4-star. Turner was on the Naval War College. You have a West Point graduate right there, right. Make sure you get the West Point graduate.
God.
The running joke I told Preston, because we've known each other for a couple of years, we've only met in person this past year, is that he has a funny looking Army uniform.
I get messed with a little bit incessantly because I collect a lot of militaria. And I used to interview World War II veterans en masse, and a lot of the stuff I collect is Army. So,
Sorry, this
yeah, no worries. That's awesome.
the Society of Cincinnati. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know about the Society of Cincinnati, it was actually started by Revolutionary War veterans and their families as one of the first true veterans organizations in the United States. It was started in 1783. If you go to Mount Vernon, you can learn a lot about this, but they had like their own Chinaware and stuff like that. It was strictly for veterans of the American Revolution. So this is really, really cool.
That is
because
awesome.
this guy, it means that whoever this is attached to, which looks like it's to Ward Morehouse Lehardy, they are a descendant of a revolutionary. So that's really cool to see here.
It is awesome.
Okay, yeah, I geeked out. For
Yeah,
a minute.
no worries at all. That's so cool. Okay, so let's see. So Summers, this is the best background photo we have to try and find.
Okay, well,
So that's gonna be a
we know kind of what we're looking for. I think they're both down in this general area.
All right, let's do it.
But well, look.
Admiral Larson, he was the superintendent. We have a Larson Hall named after him.
Hey,
Yeah, that was.
Wait a minute.
Larson. I think Admiral Larson's over here. That could be a little.
do you see that? Hey, YouTube, come this way. I swear we're almost done.
DSS.
OSF. Oh, that's awesome.
This,
I've never seen that on a grave before.
Office of Strategic Services. This is Special Forces before Special Forces.
Isn't that cool?
Roger Wolcott Hall, Captain, U.S. Army. Look at the bottom, it says he made us laugh. World War II vet, OSS member.
Come around the other side
I've
here.
never seen that before on a grave. That's cool. That's cool.
All right, we were looking for 2 more.
Yeah, I think down in.
I think they're both in that general area. I'll let you guys go there. I'm gonna go up this way to make sure we're not missing Summers.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'll have you guys go that way. I'm gonna go this way. Just a little bit. Or hey, how about right here?
Okay. Oh
We
yeah.
passed by him earlier.
That's funny. Okay, so when we were looking in the cluster, this is the one that we missed.
I should have noticed because he has the GAR marker.
Yeah. Grand Army of the Republic. Okay, awesome.
We got 1 more to go. They okay? Is that Athena?
Yep, kids are just getting a little restless.
They're fine. Food is coming soon.
Yes.
All right, so Summers, he's towards the back. Now, what's interesting is I kept finding, I got it. I kept finding stuff that referred to him as SO and SU.
I can present on it.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
I'll find his picture.
Switch. Okay, Robert Summers, Chief Quartermaster. So again, very unusual Naval Academy Cemetery, very high proximity of officers buried here. But we do have a few very distinguished enlisted men throughout the Naval Academy Cemetery. So he earned his Medal of Honor for the Civil War. Was born on December 17th, 1837 in Prussia. Little is known about Summers' early life except that he voluntarily enlisted into the Navy in 1862, serving aboard the USS Ticonderoga, crediting New York as his enlistment site. 3 years later, Summers saw combat at the Second Battle of Fort Fisher off the North Carolina coast. Fort Fisher was a Confederate stronghold nicknamed the Gibraltar of the South, and was the last remaining major Confederate coastal stronghold. Summers, other sailors, Marines, and soldiers stormed and bombarded the Fort Fisher until on January 15, 1865, the surrender to the Union. Summers would continue to serve in the U.S. Navy until December 1899, when he turned 62, which at the time was the mandatory retirement age. Summers passed on December 1st, 1919, after 37 years of service throughout his life. So,
As you read the citation, we have a picture of Mr. Summers.
okay,
Yeah, what's
here's the citation, and that is an awesome uniform.
We can see his medal.
Yeah, that's so cool. Wow. Okay, so Summers served on board the USS Ticonderoga in the attacks on Fort Fisher, January 13th to January 15th, 1865. The ship took position in the line of battle and maintained a well-directed fire upon the batteries to the left of the palisades during the initial phase of the engagement. Although several of the enemy shots fell over and around the vessel, the Ticonderoga fought her guns valiantly throughout 3 consecutive days of battle until the flag was planted on one of the strongest fortifications possessed by the rebels. So that's amazing. That's awesome. Fought it out and captured the fort. That's really cool. I wonder what his personal participation was like as a quartermaster during the battle. I know the criteria for the Medal of Honor has changed dramatically over the centuries, so it's just something I wish that I had time to look forward to. As a quartermaster, I was wondering what his personal participation in the actual storming of the fort was.
He actually was part of the bombardment force.
Okay.
So, you have to understand, when the Medal of Honor was established in during the Civil War, nobody really treated it with the dignity and honor that it has now.
Yeah.
It was just another medal. In fact, there's a famous New York or Pennsylvania senator who said, hey, if everybody re-enlists from this regiment, I'll give you all the Medal of Honor. And he did, and yeah, those were later revoked, but that's how little they thought of it at the time. I think he's going to be in this general area here. Preston?
Yeah.
I think he's going to be over here, but there's a couple over there, but based on the patina on the picture, I'm leaning towards over here. Yeah. Yeah, the angle looks right. You didn't see that. Okay, we were looking for our last Medal of Honor recipient. It has a shield engraving on it. And this is the rough angle, correct, it looks like.
I think the key is going to be that it has a flag by it too.
Yeah. So he's here. I could read the other ones over there. It says Smith. We're looking for Thomas Jones. U.S. Marine Corps. He's great in style. Oh, here he is. All right. The last one. This is Thomas Jones. Born in 1820, Baltimore, Maryland, Jones entered into the U.S. Navy in 1864 and saw combat during the Civil War. Jones was awarded his Medal of Honor for actions at the Second Battle of Fort Fisher, North Carolina. That sounds kind of familiar.
Same battle.
Yeah. 1864, 1865. While stationed aboard the USS Ticonderoga. That also sounds familiar. So, this was one I was waiting for, but Jones and Summers were together and got the Medal of Honor for the same battle, and quite potentially the same kind of actions during that war.
So it's fitting that we just did them one after the other.
This is rare, very, very rare. I've only come across this one other time out of all the graves and cemeteries I've ever been to, where two Medal of Honor recipients got their medals together or for the same battle. And I can tell you the story another time. It's actually back in my videos. But Jones would go on to serve in the Navy for 35 years, finish his career, stationed. Any guesses where he was stationed for the final days of his career? What do you got, Junior Wanderer?
Here?
Naval Academy, once again. Jones passed away on December 11th, 1892, here in Annapolis, Maryland. He retired to live just outside of Annapolis. His citation reads, on board the USS Ticonderoga during the attacks on Fort Fisher, North Carolina, the 24th and 25th of December, 1864, and 13 to 15, January 1865, despite heavy return fire by the enemy and the explosion of the 100-pounder Parrott rifle, which killed 8 men and wounded 12 more, Coxswain Jones, as captain of the gun, performed his duties with skill and courage during the first 2 days of the battle. His ship again took position in the line on the 13th. He remained steadfast as the Ticonderoga maintained a well-placed fire upon the batteries on shore. And thereafter, as she materially lessened the power of the guns on the mound on which she had been turned upon our assaulting columns. During this action, the flag was planted on one of the side of the strongest fortification possessed by the rebels. So, Jones and Summers were part of the bombardment naval force that helped take Fort Fisher. Yes, Wanderer, Junior Wanderer.
There's a unknown soldier headstone I think you'll like.
You want to see? Here. All right, show us. Lead the way. We'll finish out with that. Here's an interesting one, though. Musician, U.S. Navy.
Unknown soldier.
And there's a better unknown soldier. Oh, I can see why he would think I would like that one. Any idea why, Preston?
Very new. Very.
Navy.
Let's see.
It's Army guy.
Yeah.
So, I want to take this time to thank Midshipman Preston. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Saturday to help us go down the cemetery. This has been a really amazing experience. If you have the chance, come out here, spend some time in the cemetery. There's a lot of great things to see just besides the cemetery. And where'd you go?
I just wanted to check out this grave because this one seems.
As you can see, there's still some more amazing graves.
Yeah.
As we're trying to close out.
I've just never seen a plaque like that on it. Yeah.
So I want to point out that Midshipman Preston does have an Instagram page called
Spearhead Military. Try to be more active, but this whole midshipman thing's pretty taxing. So.
And you can follow, he's on Instagram. Are you on Facebook or anywhere else?
Preston White on Facebook. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
As you know, I'm on the TikTok, Instagram, all that fun stuff. YouTube, obviously, if you're watching. Please go there, give him a like, subscribe to his page. He collects a lot of really cool military paraphernalia. In fact, I'm going to show him one up here that he's probably never seen before pretty soon. And we'll do a quick behind the scenes video on that. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your questions, your comments. Thank you to my cameraman. Your coffee and lunch is coming. Thank you to Junior Wanderer for helping out. Give him the thumbs up. Give the thumbs up. Thank you all. And until next time, happy wandering.